Hi, my name is James Gralian, and I'm a podcaster in Denver, Colorado. I want to show you the Subtractor synthesizer in Reason software, which is a subtractive synthesizer. Reason is a digital audio workstation, but mostly features a lot of synthesizers and samplers. So we're going to go through this one. It has a lot of the functions that were talked about in class with oscillators, filters, and envelopes. And one of the things about this is just its very simple layout. It does have low frequency oscillators. It has two of them. It has an envelope for the filter. It has another envelope for just affecting whatever you want. But it's generally a very simple synthesizer if you want. So the first thing that you need to know is I don't have a keyboard. So I need to play this on my computer keyboard. So if I press F4, there's a little keyboard that I can play with my computer keyboard. And I am not a musician, as you're about to find out. But let's go through the synthesizer a little bit. We start with our oscillators up here. And there are two oscillators. I have the second one turned off. Right now, we're just set for a sine wave, so there's no overtones at all. And I can tune this a little bit. I can play with the octave. And, of course, semitones. And even go finer with synths. There's parts of a note. You can also play two oscillators against each other, and that's kind of the function of a subtractive synthesizer. So we'll set this back to 0 once I can get there, and semitones is 0, and we have one below it. And if we turn that on, so we have two oscillators playing against each other, and I can change the semitone of this one. And you hear how much that changes. And if you have headphones on, you might be able to hear that bass note that's being generated with it. But let's go ahead and turn that oscillator off. And there's other waveforms. There's our triangle, our square wave. Wow, that's obnoxious. And the sawtooth, which is even more obnoxious. So that's fed into the filter, and right now the filter is set for a low pass with a 12 dB per octave slope. And if I switch through the types, there's a low pass that's a little steeper, a notch filter, a high pass filter, and a band pass filter. So let's go to the steeper of the low pass filters. And as I'm playing the sawtooth, I'm going to bring down the frequency. And then eventually we're going to get below the note, and it just drops right out. So let's come back up and let's hit the resonance, which is here. That'll make a peak right where that cutoff frequency is. It starts to get pretty loud. And it almost gets in a self oscillation. Let's bring down the filter a little more and do another resonance peak here. So you hear how it really affects that leading edge of that filter. Let's go to the triangle because that's a little more pleasant. And you hear how it kind of starts to really ring and oscillate. There's also a second filter, which is turned off right now. That's just a low frequency or a low pass filter. So then next we have our envelope. And as you can see, the attack time is all the way down. The decay time is all the way down. The release time is all the way down, and the sustain level is all the way up, which means that we're basically just turning it on and off. So let's play with these a little bit. We'll bring up our attack time, and this will allow it to slope up into the sustain. If we bring down the sustain a little bit, the sustain level, that means that the volume is going to go above where the sustain level is and then come right back down because we don't have any decay time. So if we add a little bit of decay time, that'll mean that it'll peak out and then slowly come back down, or at least a little slower than it was before, to the sustain time. And if we add some release time, that means that it's going to, once I release the note, it'll start to slowly taper off. So this really looks like the diagram of an ADSR uh, envelope, what you see when somebody says ADSR and they show you a little diagram with a slow attack, a slow decay, a little lower sustain, so we actually come down from that peak of where the attack goes, and then the release time, so it slowly tapers off at the end. There's also one of those for the filter. So the filter would be affected in the same way, where its frequency would be affected, its cutoff frequency. It may, if you set the same envelope, that would slope up, the frequency would slope up some and then come back down to settle in and then drop off a little with the release. So those are the main functions of the Subtractor synthesizer in Reason. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it made a lot of sense. I hope you're enjoying the class as much as I am. Thanks.